But gentlemen, guys, we have a special treat for you tonight, and this is a huge one for us and the amazing opportunity we had. We got to interview Hugh Freeze, the head coach of Liberty University, of course, former Ole Miss head coach, where he beat Nick Saban multiple times, won a Sugar Bowl title as well. Uh, this actually occurred yesterday in around noon. We weren't going to live stream it. We wanted to save it for you guys to watch it at a regular time. And I'm gonna kick it over now to Connor to tell us how we were able even to get that.
So how it worked was after I don't even know which loss, but after Virginia Tech lost, people were on Twitter were going around asking what play or what coaches Virginia Tech should look at, and one of them was Hugh Freeze, and I jokingly said in response to that the only way Hugh Freeze would ever be coaching at Lane Stadium was on the opposing sidelines for another team, as he did a couple years ago against Virginia Tech. And then Coach Freeze decided to not respond to that tweet, but directly DM me and say, "I appreciate you, man, for that." And I was like, "Oh, okay, Coach. Wow, I like the fact that you can laugh at yourself. Hey, Coach, I'm part of a college football podcast. You want to come on?" He's like, "Sure." So this has actually been about 2 weeks or so in the making, because this happened a few weeks ago, and we've just been trying to get time that worked for him. And they actually have a bye this week, so it worked out pretty good since he doesn't have a game to have to worry about. So it's a huge honor. It was a huge honor to be able to interview him, and I hope you guys enjoy this.
All right, yeah, it was. I'm gonna say right now, it was an amazing experience. So we're all looking forward to it. Um, there is a there's a lot of questions we were able to ask him. He's actually there wasn't really a limit on what we could ask too. So you guys are gonna get to learn a lot about Hugh Freeze. I think a lot of people don't realize how down to earth Hugh is, but this is gonna really do that. And with that being said, let's go ahead and roll it. Here is the man, the myth, the legend, the Hugh Freeze interview. What is going on, guys? Welcome back again to the Week Zero podcast. Today is just me, your host, Andrew Coster, and my co-host, Connor Dotry. And we've got a very special guest on the show today. Not the one and only, the legend, the head coach currently at Liberty University, Coach Hugh Freeze. Coach, welcome to the show. How are you doing today? I heard you guys just got out the practice field.
We did, man. Thanks for having me on. We just we finally have an open week, so it's pretty nice to not be too stressed about whether practice was great or not. We got off. We started a little early, got off a little early, so our coaches can get on the road recruiting. So it's good to have an open week.
I know that's a big thing, especially at this time of the year with early signing day coming up. Now, I guess the first question I wanted to ask you is, you started off your career in being a high school coach in Tennessee, kind of like how Gus Malzahn did when he was started his career off. What made you decide to transition from the high school game to the college level?
Truthfully, it's ironic you brought Gus up, but he and I are really good friends, like best friends.
Awesome, actually.
In this sport, he's probably my best friend in the game, and I think he would say the same. I just talked to him this morning again, but that's when we became friends. I was winning a lot of games and state championships in Tennessee, and he was doing the same in Arkansas. And we would end up at these same clinics together because if you win the state championship, you get invited to these clinics, and that's where we really became friends. And our paths have been crazy similar, where we both left high school the same year and went to college coaching the same year. So it's been eerily similar, but I'd always had the desire, Andrew, to be a college coach. Always. I told my wife on our honeymoon that we honeymooned in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and on our way to Gatlinburg, we pulled in Neyland Stadium on the University of Tennessee and kind of not broke in a gate, but weaseled through a gate that was kind of loose and got on the field. And I told her there I was going to be a head football coach in college. Actually told her the SEC, which did come true. But so I've always had that desire, and just timing is so much of everything in life. I did wonder at one point if that dream had passed after you get married, have kids. It's really like, man, I got a good job here. I'm getting paid pretty good. I have 3 kids. This GA stuff probably ain't gonna work, and us pay the bills. But fortunately, Ed Orgeron gave me a chance in an off the field role for a year, and I just worked that year as hard as I could, and fortunately proved myself to be elevated to an on the field position. And then from there, man, it went really fast for me to be back as a head coach and very quickly. So very blessed.
So, Coach, obviously you talked about coaching the SEC. So, obviously, you guys traveled and played at Ole Miss, your former, place of hire. What did it mean? What did it feel like to be back there to play against them? And what did it mean to your team as well?
Well, Connor, it was something that I dreaded for a long time, to be very candid. Your mind can play tricks on you, like you worry about your wife, your daughters, my mom, my dad, and how will they be treated. I get it, man. I get treated bad in some stadiums from time to time, just because you're a coach and you're the visiting team. So you're kind of have a mindset that you're used to some of it, but this was quite different for sure, because I love that place. It's home to me. It's where I was born. It's where I was raised. It's probably where I will be retire and be buried. So, so that was a special place. And man, we proved that you can win there, and we won a lot of big games. And so that was a great experience, other than the ending. And therefore, that's the first time I've been back there since that time. And so there's some uncertainty. But I'll have to say that the welcoming that I got at the hotel, pre-game, post-game, for me, my wife, kids, was it was awesome. And I think people, the reasonable people, appreciate the fact that we got something done there pretty special, and winning a Sugar Bowl and going to 2 New Year's Six games and winning some big games. So I think time kind of heals whatever hurt there may be, whether they have an understanding of what the truth is or not, really doesn't matter. What matters is I felt very welcome, as did my family. So the game, wish we would have had a chance to win it at the end. I think we were right there. Just didn't make enough plays, particularly in the first half, to be in it at the end. But I thought our kids battled a top 15 team extremely well.
Yeah, and Coach, you just talked about your kind of the success you had at Ole Miss. You're one of only a handful of coaches that has ever been Nick Saban 2 years in a row. So during his time in Alabama, what did those wins mean to you as a coach, and where do they rank among like your biggest achievements as a coach?
They were incredibly special, and certainly at my time there, they would rank way, way up there. Having, you're beating, I'll tell you that those 2 years we beat them, not only, I don't know if people know this, but you've got Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Mel Tucker, Mario Cristobal, Lane Kiffin, Billy Napier.
All
They're
of the
all
coaching
on
staff.
I didn't realize Mel
staff.
Tucker.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
And Ole Miss has this old country bumpkin, Hugh Freeze, and it wasn't a real fair fight. But man, for our kids and staff to find a way to beat that team and that staff 2 consecutive years is pretty remarkable and special. So I'll treasure those wins. I have memorabilia from both of them, and we'll always keep that. I will say there's been some wins here, though, that have felt as special, because of just us moving to FBS, taking it to a bowl game in year 1 and winning it, and then beating Virginia Tech in year 2 in that special year we had, and then beating a top 15 team in the bowl game last year in Coastal, an undefeated team. Those felt equally as good, I'll have to say.
Now, Coach, since you have coached a lot of places, of course, Arkansas State as well, and then Ole Miss, and now Liberty, you've been to a lot of opposing stadiums. What would you say was the toughest environment to coach at?
if any time of kickoff is A&M to me. Night LSU is tough.
Okay.
A&M's tough. I've played there at day and night, and it's tough. Those people are in sync with their cheers, and the whole reveille is right behind your bench, and it's chaotic. You know, it's 110,000 there. We actually at that time opened their new stadium, and that was the largest crowd to ever watch a college football game in the SEC, and it was crazy loud. LSU on Saturday night's pretty crazy too. Florida gets pretty loud. There's some loud stadiums, but I'd have to give the nod to A&M overall.
Now, Coach, I'm a Virginia Tech alum and a fan, so I'm going to ask you, what did that mean?
Stadium, you know, I don't know if you know this. I coached at the year I was head coach at Arkansas State. We came to Lane Stadium and played Coach Beamer and them, and that's a interesting loud stadium. That's kind of sneaky. It's kind of sneaky loud that you didn't really. It doesn't get talked about a lot of times, but man, it when they come into the Inner Sandman and the keys and stuff, it's pretty loud.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's so much smaller compared to the SEC stadiums.
Yeah, what does that stadium hold there?
66,000.
Yeah.
So, but obviously you had that really weird, crazy win where at Lane Stadium last year, where Virginia Tech thought they blocked the field goal for the win, and then they didn't, and then you guys got the game-winning field goal a few plays later. What did that mean to your team last year with how special of a season you guys were having? What did that symbolize for you guys?
I think it just validated the fact that, man, we're on the right track. I mean, look, that doesn't mean you're going to win every game, and certainly we've lost some this year that I thought we could have won. But when you do happen to win one where a team has a superior roster, I mean, just look at the 3, 4, 5 stars that are on rosters like Virginia Tech has, and we have our 2-star kids, and every now and then we might throw in a 3-star, but you put a game plan together and your kids execute it well enough to give you a chance to win it, and then you get over the hump and win one like that, and it's pretty stinking awesome, And so that was, I think it was just, man, Liberty's having a special year, and it kind of validated that we're definitely on the right track.
Now, Coach, since you've come to Liberty, I mean, you really kind of turned this program now into one of the best group of 5 teams out there. How much work did that take to really get them going now to where you guys are competing with teams, heck, not just group of 5 teams, but Power 5 teams on a regular level?
Yeah. Well, I think, we all have gifts and strengths and weaknesses. And I think the best coaches are the ones who play to their strengths and recognize their weaknesses. And I'm pretty transparent and I know myself really well now. And I know what I'm good at, and I know what my strengths are, and I know what I'm not real good at. And I try to hire people and let them do their job for where I'm not as interested or weak. And one of the things that I do know, and I guess it's kind of proven in the stops I've made, whether it be Lambeth, Arkansas State, Ole Miss here, I've taken over programs that had not had great years, and we've been able to turn it really quick. And I just think I have this plan for culture and confidence that's built in the building that allows teams to maybe play a little better than maybe their talent says they are. And so you combine that gift with the ability to evaluate and recruit players, which I think I have also, along with some help. Those two are a pretty good fit for really flipping a program pretty quick and seeing some results on the field. So there's a lot of things I'm not good at. And so I don't want to sit here and act like I have it all figured out, but I do know that I'm pretty good at getting a group of people pointed in the same direction with the same mindset and same culture, or at least a large percentage of the group, and have a plan that we don't vary from, that gives them confidence, and they see a consistency in the leader, that he's not too up, he's not too down when things are good or things are bad, and he approaches it with the same plan, same preparation, and
I think we might have lost him for a second, or he froze for a second.
yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. It just froze for a
really
second.
bad there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our bad. Speaking of strengths, though, you guys have a huge strength right now at your quarterback position, who's right now projected to be taking the first half of the first round in this year's NFL draft from Malik Willis. And you've already coached some great quarterbacks at Ole Miss and Bo Wallace and Chad Kelly. What is so unique about Malik Willis that makes him a first round draft pick?
Well, the most unique thing about him is really his humility. He's the most humble talent I've ever coached. Always team until things don't go well, and then it's him. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, in today's society where it's the Insta life, whatever, we call all those things, man, he is just, it's always somebody else gets the credit, and until things don't go well, and then it's his fault. And I just admire the heck out of him for that. But as far as what makes him a top draft pick is just his ability to be an accurate passer with this crazy God-gifted, freakish athletic ability to make crazy plays that make you go, wow. And, I'm just thankful that, you're talking about a kid who never played any significant snaps of college football until he got here. And I just think he had somebody finally believe in him and say, we can help you. I know that you will fit in my system. And I'm just thrilled that everything we talked about in recruiting has come about, and even really exceeded probably any of our expectations. So thrilled for him.
Now, Coach, it just came out recently that Liberty will be moving from independent league to joining the Conference USA League in 2023 as part of like the most recent round of realignment. What were your thoughts on that? And, how do you think that'll help the program moving forward once you guys do move to a conference?
Love it. Love the fact, I think in this climate of realignment and talk of expansion and all of that it serves us well to be a member of a conference. And I'm hopeful. I got a few texts earlier. I'm hopeful that we're able to hold on to a few schools that were kind of on the fence. Y'all may know more about that than I do, but I hope we can hold on to a few of them, and it makes our conference even stronger. But we're real excited. I think it's a conference that we can go into and be competitive and have a chance to win it. And I think that anytime you're able to be in the talks about conference championship, I think it's beneficial to your program, and certainly believe that that we can be in those conversations pretty quickly. So we're really excited. I wish it could happen next year.
Speaking of conference championships, obviously you won a Sun Belt Conference championship when you were at Arkansas State. Where does that rank among your achievements?
Man, time is funny. When I get to the end of my career and I look back, that's going to be way up there. It's funny how that one, because that's another team that had never they had been fairly new to the FBS, had never had a winning season. I think they were 6-6 one occasion, and we run the table and go undefeated in the Sun Belt Conference and win the conference championship in our first year, which was pretty crazy. And I'll never forget that night. I'll tell you this. There's one bad. I couldn't totally enjoy that night. I'll never forget it. It was on a Saturday afternoon. We kicked it off around 2 or 3 o'clock. We beat Troy to finish the year off with 10 wins and an undefeated Sun Belt season. But the Thursday prior to that game, that was Thanksgiving week. I'll never forget it. I had been offered the Ole Miss job, and I had to give them an answer that Sunday. And so we're winning, undefeated, trophy presentation. And in the back of my mind, I feel like everybody's looking at me like, do we know, we know, we know. And, there's always so much hurt involved when you leave a school that you really do love being at. And it's a crazy, I don't know that everybody's like me, but I truly do care about the people I coach and the people I work with and the people I work for. And that same case was, I loved my AD at Arkansas State. I loved my friends there. I loved my players there. And you're torn with this opportunity, man. I can go coach in the highest level, but I'm fixing to crush all of these people that just made it possible for me to do that. And that is an absolute horrible feeling for me. Some people probably are callous, but for me, I recognize that the reason I'm getting that opportunity is because of these people that I'm fixing to hurt. And so that's the reason. It'll be an incredible memory of us winning that. The governor's out there with us, and all my AD and family. Dean Lee was an incredible AD. But internally, I was having this battle of, I'm fixing to rip their hearts out tomorrow. And they just did everything I asked and helped me get this, and now I'm going to hurt them. Now, most of them understand it, but I do have that internal struggle, and that was kind of the summary of that day.
Okay.
Does that make any sense to you guys?
Yeah, no,
it does, especially because
Yeah.
where they brought you up, where they helped you get to where you are, even put you in that position,
No doubt.
Yeah, so that's just I think that's one thing that maybe people don't realize about you is you do have that, and that coaches in general, those decisions are tough.
I know a lot of coaches that it doesn't bother at all, but I know a lot of guys that are made like me where it's very, very difficult. You just don't like hurting people. I don't like hurting people, period.
No, I mean, neither do I. So that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad we both have that in common.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move. I think we can ask a few more questions. Let's move on to something a little bit more lighthearted, potentially for you. What was it like when you coached against Syracuse from a hospital bed in 2019?
Have you ever had anything in life that you're like, man, I probably should do that over, and I wouldn't make that same decision?
I have a
That's
couple.
one of those. That's one of those nights. Number one, I'm taking pain meds, and I can't see the game, and it was really just, I was worthless. But man, it was a new program, and I'd preached all spring long this theme of tougher together. And so I'm on this mission to prove that I'm going to be tougher. But man, it was in hindsight, I think I would probably not do that again. The doctors told me not to, but I didn't listen. But it was it probably set me back a week or two.
Yeah, doctors probably weren't very happy with you after that.
They were not.
Now, obviously, the biggest talking point so far this year with regards to actually the playoff committee and in the past few years, is just their treatment of non-conference. Oh, and there's Ryan coming in at the end there.
How's it going?
Say hi to Coach.
Hey, Ryan.
How's it going, Coach Reese?
I'm good, man.
So obviously, the committee hasn't really put that much faith, it seems, in group of 5 teams. So what do you think would have to change moving forward regarding that?
I don't think there's anything that can change the committee on a given year outside of expansion that would allow them to really. It would take a lot of moving parts and things to happen for a group of 5 school to enter that Final Four. I think certainly Cincinnati is making that argument this year. I think that they're as close as anybody's ever been. And with some games to play, they have a chance, a realistic chance. I think those realistic chances for Group of Five schools are few and far between on a given year in the current format. It's just in the committee's mind, right, wrong, or indifferent. I've coached at that Power Five level, and I know the grueling schedules that you play in some of those conferences, and it's very difficult in people's minds, college football people's minds, to say that a team that has played a lighter schedule but fewer losses is deserving over some of these other teams that have played a grueling schedule. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just telling you that is going to be the hurdle that I don't know you can overcome on most years. Are there special years like this year that Cincinnati might? Yes. And they played out of conference and had a very, very impressive win over Notre Dame and also beat Power 5 Indiana. So they've got an argument. But is that argument valid year in, year out by most Group of Fives? Well, experience would tell us no. And I don't think that's going to change outside of the format changing.
Now, another thing, Coach, when it comes to playing big schools is, I know you've played a lot, but what's one program you wish you hope to get to play at some point? I don't know if you've played like Clemson or a school out west like Oregon or anything like that. So what is the one school like?
No, I don't want to fly west. That's too far of a flight for me. I really have always dreamed of. I would love to play Notre Dame at Notre Dame. That's when I got the Ole Miss job. That's first thing I told the AD was because when they passed the deal that you have to play one Power 5 in the SEC and you're out of conference. I said, man, can we get Notre Dame? The problem with Notre Dame is they're scheduled out for like 50 years in their non-conference deal. And I do think it would be awesome for Liberty to be able to play at Notre Dame. I think that would be incredible for us. It was what our founder kind of dreamed of. So that would be really, really special. But it's hard to get Notre Dame on the schedule for sure.
Now, Coach Freeze, I didn't know if they have asked you this before, but when it comes to the playoff committee and Group of 5 teams, I know you mentioned Cincinnati and how they have a chance actually this year. To me, we've talked about it on our show, but to me, it sounds like the committee will give the Power 5 this set of standards like, hey, strength of schedule matters. Going on the road, your ranked wins matter. And then they tell like a UCF, a Cincinnati, a Coastal Carolina. I mean, even Liberty, you guys last year, hey, we don't value your guys' conference. We want you guys to go schedule tough ranked opponents on the road. Me as a Notre Dame fan, I got to see Cincinnati firsthand, and they are legit. I mean, come into Notre Dame, they beat us by 11. They controlled the game from start to finish. And to me, it was disrespectful having them at 6 in the first rankings. Do you think that with expansion going forward, it will make it easier for a Cincinnati, a Liberty, a Coastal Carolina, a UCF to get in? Or do you think it will just continue the trend of extending the standards or the goal line per se for Group of 5 teams to get in?
And I definitely think if expansion occurs, you're going to see one Group of 5 get in. I believe that. I don't think that they could possibly do that, but I do think that there'll still be the arguments of should there be 2 in, as opposed to a 2-loss Power 5 team, and here's a 1-loss Group of 5. I think you're probably still going to see the nod go to those Power 5s, but I do think it would at least give the Group of 5 schools like us a seat at the table if you have one of those special years. Like last year, it was, I don't complain about a lot of that because I get it, I know, but man, there was one point, we're being mentioned in it, and we were the only Group of 5 school that had 2 wins over Power 5 conferences. So it's like it didn't even register. And, we were not even in the discussions, and none of the other, I'm not taking anything away from the other Group of 5s, but they had no wins over Power 5s. We had 2 and then beat the undefeated Coastal at the end. So, I get it. I do think we'll get a seat at the table if expansion of the playoffs occurs. But you're still not going to overcome some of the – and I try to put myself in their shoes. I've coached in those leagues, and, you've got to see, are you talking about who you think is who would win on a given day? And that's the hurdle that they have in their mind, because they're asking themselves, all right, if I had Cincinnati versus Oklahoma, who do I think would win? Well, is that your criteria in your mind that decides your voting, or is it who is deserving on this given year? And I think that is the internal mindset that I don't know that anybody has answered that, but what is the criteria? Is it who do you think would win, or who is having the most deserving year? And as long as there's just 4 teams, I think it's going to be very, very hard to consistently get one of us a seat at that table.
So I know you have to. I know you have a meeting. I think you said at 11:30.
Yeah, we got offensive staff to watch film from this morning. So it's open weeks. They want to go home.
Yeah, no, I can't blame you. Y'all deserve that after a tough game last week, and to go on finish the season strong.
But Coach, quick question, Coach, before we do hop off here. What's it like coaching a guy like Malik Willis really quick?
Incredible. It makes me a good play caller. I like coaching guys.
He makes you look good.
When I call a play and it's a terrible play, it still works. Or you still has a chance to work, and that's what it's like to coach Malik Willis.
All right, well, Coach, once again, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It really means a lot, and we hope you guys have an amazing rest of the season going forward and for future years to come. We hope one day maybe talk to you in the future.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Coach.
Right.
Thanks.
All right, guys, and that was the interview with Coach Hugh Freeze, and that was pretty. It was pretty good. Safe to say, Hugh Freeze is a very down to earth kind of guy. By the way, also Connor, let me put you back here and then back here. Sorry.
There we go.
But I know Lucas. Actually, this is your first time watching the interview, so what did you think of it?
Oh, I thought it was great. I was really, really surprised. And like I was telling you before the show, you guys hear me all right, right? Your headphones. Yeah. Just making sure. Okay. I was telling you before the show how much research I've actually done on Hugh Freeze. Actually, I'm pretty sure his first name is Danny, if I know correctly. Pretty sure it's Danny Hugh Freeze. Anyway, Danny Hugh Freeze Jr., actually, I'm pretty sure is what it is. But anyways, I've done a lot of research on him, and he actually seems like, the media likes to put him out to a certain way, especially with all that stuff that happened. But doing all this research and hearing all of his interviews that he's had since then, he seems like an incredible guy. And then watching him talk to you guys, like this is the first time, obviously, talking to us, and we're a smaller podcast. So how open he was towards us is just incredible. And I'm so happy we got that opportunity. Unfortunately, I obviously couldn't be there, but it was just so great for us. And, hopefully his kind of message can get out there as well, and how good of a coach he is in person.
He definitely is a good coach, to say the least.
I just liked how much he was able to laugh at himself, talking about the breaking into Neyland Stadium with his wife.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Saying he kind of jokingly regrets doing the hospital bed game, because that became its own like a meme around college football for that season when that happened for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always good to be able to laugh at yourself, and I'm glad to hear that he said that he got a good reception as well from Ole Miss fans for the most part.
Yeah,
I think he didn't go out in such a bad way that they can't not forgive him for making their program up, building it up to what it is now. He left it a really strong foundation for Lane Kiffin or whoever came in after him, and now Lane Kiffin's kind of taking it up to the next step. But he kind of brought that program up a good bit for Hugh Freeze. So
I think the one thing that's interesting that people forget is that really he still has had the most success out of any coach, I think, during Ole Miss, and at least this century. Because
in terms of like just overall success, like wins and stuff.
Well, yeah, think about it, because he's one of two coaches to beat Nick Saban in back-to-back seasons when Saban's been at Alabama. The other being Les Miles, who won a national championship. He won a Sugar Bowl. He went to 2 New Year's Six bowls.
He had them ranked number 2 in the first ever college football playoff rankings behind Mississippi State.
And I believe, and they beat Mississippi State that year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I think he had a winning record against Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really still the best that anyone's done at that program
in a long time. Yeah.
Well, I also think like we're kind of forgetting that he's one of the few coaches that has beat Nick Saban in Alabama twice.
That's what I was saying.
I mean, think about it. Like, I think that gives you a little leeway with fans if you ever leave. I mean, no matter what you do.
I mean, sure,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, both of them were one of them was the equivalent of a blowout when you're playing Alabama, because I think they beat.
It was at Alabama too.
It was at Alabama, and I think at one point they were up by like 20, and they actually formed Alabama fans leaving the stadium midway through like the third quarter.
Was
Alabama
that the Chad Kelly game?
Yeah,
the
crazy look, like the
he
crazy
just chucks
swag
it
Kelly
up to-
catch.
Yeah,
He just chucks it up to Adebayo, and it gets tipped to him.
No, to Adebanjo, Quincy Adebanjo.
I was actually on my way to my high school semifinals game when that was going on.
Wow.
Quincy Adebayo, Ravens practice squad legend.
Quincy Adebanjo.